Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms. You can find me over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin or on the Dynasty After Dark YouTube channel, Rumble, Spotify, Google, iTunes, wherever you listen to the podcast, you can find me over there. While you're there, if you don't mind, just leaving a comment, even if it's a one-word comment on the channel, on the video, a review, anything you can just to help promote the channel. Tell the channel about it to one of your friends, anything to just get it out there to more people. I would be truly appreciative of it. So today I wanted to get into the last of the Not My Guys for Dynasty Fantasy Football in 2022 and beyond. And the last couple guys have been pretty controversial. They're what a lot of people call hot takey, but it's not meant to be that at all. This whole series is supposed to be a realistic approach to some of the guys that have a little bit of excess hype right now. You know, they're riding too close to the sun, and I don't want you to get burned. And this tight end prospect that I'm going to be showing you here today is the last guy that I'm a little nervous about, especially with his given ADP that he has for fantasy football. So if you haven't had a chance yet, go check those ones out. I'm sure you'll find some good points. Hopefully I made a compelling case for all of those other guys, and I will make a compelling case for my guy here today. So getting into it, my guy is going to be Dawson Knox. He's 25 years old, 6'4", 254 pounds. He is a prototypical size tight end, plays for the Buffalo Bills if you didn't already know that. Currently, he's going off the board as the tight end number 10 in Dynasty, and this is where it just is so egregious to me. So, like I said with the last couple of videos, I'm trying to do this more as an analytical breakdown as to why I'm out on these guys versus just a narrative one. But I'm going to do both for this guy because I'm down on both aspects for him in 2022 and beyond. So first thing I'm going to say, last year, if you look at the actual targets for Dawson Knox and what he was able to do as a finish, end of year finish, he finished as the number 8 overall tight end, number 7 in standard, full PPR number 8. And this is with historically low numbers in the passing game. So some of the stats from Player Profiler, he was number 20th in all tight ends in targets last year, number 18 in receptions, 15th in yards, 12 in yards after the catch, 22nd in target share, 28 in target rate for his position for the team, 16th in air yards. I don't really like this one as a stat. I think it's kind of useless, but it just kind of backs up my point here. He was number 11 in average depth of target, but he was number 5 in deep targets. He was number 4 in the red zone targets and number 2 out of every tight end prospect last year in terms of tight ends. That's why he was so good for standard, even higher in standard over PPR. He did not have a very good year last year, but the touchdowns were such an outlier that it makes me very nervous for Dawson Knox going into 2022. So that's the analytical side of things, right? There's a lot of red flags right there. He wasn't even top 12 in anything except for red zone, deep targets, and touchdowns. That's not great considering who this team has in its skill positions going forward. So everything we know about the Buffalo Bills, one of the best teams in the AFC right now. Josh Allen is a stud. He's kind of supplanted Patrick Mahomes as the number 1 dynasty quarterback for a lot of people. People really love Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. As a Patriots fan, I don't love it at all because it means that our time in the sun has finally come to an end. But, you know, every team has their time to shine, and it is now the Buffalo Bills' time with Josh Allen. And when you look at this team and the makeup that they've done this year, and this is why, from a narrative perspective, I'm connecting dots that aren't necessarily proven facts, right? But I'm going to build my case for it here, and whether or not you find it compelling is up to you. So you look at what they were able to do in the actual draft. They have not been very high in the rushing category the last couple of years. They've been very, very pass happy. They've been a pass first offense, kind of rely on Devin Singletary and Zach Moss very little over the last couple of years. Well, they add James Cook in the second round this year, really trying to make a statement that they want to get involved with a pass catching tight end. So they still want to, or pass catching running back. So they still want to be heavily involved in the passing game. They were linked to Christian McCaffrey. They were linked to Saquon Barkley. They were linked to a lot of different elite options. Alvin Kamara, I heard them linked to at one point this offseason. So before the draft, they were linked to a lot of highly competent dual threat running backs. They ended up going James Cook in the draft. They still have Stephon Diggs. They have Isaiah Hodgins. They have Gabe Davis, who everyone is extremely high on right now. And they have Jamison Crowder, and then a couple other guys that are a little bit further down the depth chart, but have been getting a lot of love the last couple of days. Those guys are... Sorry, I just had to pull it up here. They have Isaiah McKenzie, Khalil Shakir, and then Jamison Crowder as well. So they have a very stacked wide receiver core. Isaiah McKenzie is someone that's been very highly touted this entire offseason. He's been a very good favorite target in the slot for Josh Allen, with Jamison Crowder missing a lot of time. Jamison Crowder, I love the talent of this guy. Completely derailed his career with injuries. He just cannot stay healthy. But Jamison Crowder, Gabe Davis, and Stephon Diggs is a nasty trio. You add in James Cook, who is a good pass-catching running back. Devin Singletary is capable in the passing game as well. That is a lot of targets that are not going to be going to the tight end position, in my opinion. Especially if Gabe Davis lives up to what everyone is expecting him to do. There's no way that Dawson Knox is going to be able to see a relevant number of targets this year. So again, he'll probably finish around that number 20 in the target area. So then you look at the touchdown where he really excelled. Gabe Davis is a touchdown monster. Gabe Davis is a just monster human being. He's 6'4". He's just a massive man. And we've seen it in this entire offseason, with all of the training camp. He's been someone that Josh Allen loves to target in the red zone, and he's been heavily utilizing that. So Sleeper has Gabe Davis listed as 6'2", 210. I know that's not accurate. I know it's 6'3", and I think he's like 220 now. He's really bulked up this offseason, so he's a massive guy, more of like a DK Metcalf type of body type, not necessarily the athlete that DK Metcalf is, but he's just a very big dude, and he's someone that Josh Allen has loved to go to in the training camp so far this offseason. So everyone is very high on Gabe Davis, and then you look at Stephon Diggs. The 2 years that he's been here, he has 18 total touchdowns, 10 last year, 8 the year before. He's going to get a ton of touchdowns again. Gabe Davis, if he takes a step forward, let's say he last year he finished with 6 touchdowns and he wasn't even that good. Let's say he finishes with that 10-ish type of touchdown total. That's not many left for the entire team. And again, I just think that there's going to be a lot of risk with Dawson Knox to finish it with 9 touchdowns. I don't see that happening. So I think that it really is what is going to happen is going to be a tick up for Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to get double-digit touchdowns yet again. I think Gabe Davis is going to get double-digit. I think both of those guys are probably going to average about 11 each. They're probably going to combine for about 22 to 24 touchdowns. And then I think the other guys here, Isaiah McKenzie, even James Cook, are going to probably have about 10 between the two of them. So that's 32 to 36 touchdowns right there. That's not leaving very many left on the board, and that's taking away any random one-off touchdowns, to Marquez Stevenson or Jake Kumaro or one of these other guys. So from an analytical standpoint, Dawson Knox last year really outperformed in the touchdown area. From a build of the team makeup, I think that they're going to regress him in that area as well. He's not going to have as many opportunities to get targets in the red zone because of the other assets that they have on this team. And then my fear, and this is why if you listen to my wide receiver breakdown, my top 12 wide receivers for Dynasty football that I did with Coach Bruce a couple months ago, the biggest fear that I have for Stephon Diggs is they've talked about wanting to become a balanced team for many, many years now. They don't like that they're a pass-first team. They have a defensive-minded head coach who wants to get to running the ball a little bit more, to utilize their defense that is pretty good and control the game a little bit more that way. They don't want to have to throw the ball as much as they are. They want to wear the other team's defense down a little bit more, right? They invested pretty highly in a running back this offseason in James Cook, like I've mentioned, and they don't want Josh Allen to be running as much. So I think if they're going to convert a little bit of the passing attempts into more rushing attempts, that's going to definitely eat up again into the targets. If that total passing attempts number for the Buffalo Bills comes down, because they've been top 3 the last couple of seasons with Josh Allen, if that comes down a little bit, that's just going to eat into everyone's workload. And again, that's where I think Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis are going to be fine, but some of those other guys like Dawson Knox are not. So tight end number 10 for me is just way too risky. And I know it's in that point where it's like, why does it even matter for tight end number 10? These guys are all pretty irrelevant, for fantasy. He was tight end number 8 and he had a bad season last year, which is just kind of indicative of the tight end position. But I just think that there's some other guys that are more interesting that are going after him that should definitely be going ahead of him. So you got guys like Cole Kmet at tight end 11. You got Noah Fant at tight end 13. You got David Njoku. If he was able to take a step forward, they paid him to. This offseason, they paid him a lot of money to be the guy for Cleveland. He's going at 16 overall. Irv Smith at 17. I have Irv Smith as a top 12 in my opinion. Hunter Henry's going at 19 overall. Gerald Everett, Evan Ingram. These guys are all guys that I would rather have than Dawson Knox, and they're all going much, much later. So Isaiah Likely, 23 overall. That'll be something to watch, whether he can vault up this offseason. But yeah, I just think that tight end number 10 for Dawson Knox is way too risky. I think that there's not going to be a return on your investment. And one of these days, man, I'm telling you, it is going to come around that the number 10 tight end will be fantasy relevant. It might be a couple more years, but we are getting to the point where you have a lot of highly touted prospects coming out of college into the NFL, and teams are starting to utilize more of a pass catching versus run blocking or blocking tight end for their schemes. The elite guys do it all, but a lot of teams are going towards more of just if we need a blocker, you just get the blocking tight end and you let the pass catching guy go out there and do work. And Kyle Pitts is kind of like that. Kyle Pitts can block, he's just a monster of a human, but it's not his strong suit for sure. Mark Andrews, not his strong suit. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller. These are all guys who can block, but they're not the best at it. We're getting more injection of those guys into the league, and some of these guys are getting a little bit older. I understand that, but I think we're only a couple years away from the tight end number 12 actually mattering, and tight end number 10 for Dawson Knox, again, is just way too rich for my blood. I don't think he has the upside that he has last year with the touchdown upside. So I'm out on Dawson Knox. Let me know over on YouTube, over on Twitter, what your thoughts are. You can find me on Twitter at TDC_Calvin one more time. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're listening to the podcast, if you could just leave a comment, leave a review, leave a like, anything helps. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Have a good night.